lead for women in GIS. I'll be your room host for this session. Our next speaker is Ryan Beggy. Mr. Beggy graduated from the University of West Florida in 2003 with a baccalaureate in environmental science. By 2004, he began working with Manatee County and quickly realized that GIS would be the focal point that drove his career. 2 decades later, he now serves as a utilities mapping superintendent and has had the privilege to manage a variety of projects such as the Public Works Asset Management System and a countywide infrastructure assessment for FEMA's community rating system. Mr. Beggy is happily married to his wife, Afra, of 20 years and resides in sunny Southwest Florida with his family and small farm. All right, Ryan, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, let's see if I can, too many buttons I can push to get this to work right. The old joke is I can
program. It's the green one in the bottom.
All right, so you got it here. Everybody can see my screen?
No.
No.
No. All right.
Yeah?
Yep.
Like I said, I can program software, I just can't use it.
We got it. And Wendy, have you started the recording again? Yes. Okay. So we are now recording as well. Go ahead and I'll let you get started.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you all for listening. So funding, philosophy, and the science of where. Recommendations for geographic information structure, organizational structure. And I'll start off with the caveat here that I realize that not everyone in this room is a decision maker as far as like policy goes and whatnot, but you know, I study them. I do demographics for various other applications, and I can tell you right now, you know, you look at the shift, and you may not be able to implement any of this now, but there's we're not going to be around forever. The baby boomers are going away, and positions are shifting. So I just hope that somebody can take something from this. So, nevertheless, who are we? Manatee County Utilities Records. Just overview here. We got a team of about 20 of us, right? And there's 3 divisions: records, mapping, and locates. And we share a singular mission: protect the infrastructure, right? And grand irony, and I'm gonna come back to this picture. You can see the background there. That's a fun one. So we'll talk about that here. You got one job. You ask anyone on our team, what's their job? And they're all gonna say the same thing: protect the infrastructure, right? And that happens though in a different capacity based on where each person lands, right? And you can see at that top corner there, a very generic overview of our structure there, right? And it's shifted a little bit, but the core bits to it are there, and that we have records, mapping, and locates. The records team has about 8,000 records. We process roughly, I don't know, 200-300 annually, as-builts, construction drawings, field sketches, etc. Mapping team, you'll hear more from Shannon later. We have about 10,000 linear miles of features. We've got somewhere between, I don't know, we'll just say roughly 750,000 data points, right? And then our locates team, they get 90,000 tickets annually. These are the call sunshine tickets for underground locates, right? And I'm gonna brag a little bit. Well, I'm gonna brag a lot. They have 1 damage per 1,000 tickets, right? And we can go into a lot of that, right? But the state average is about 13 per 1,000 tickets, right? Okay, so backing up a little bit, records. What's their objective? Same mission: protect the infrastructure. Their job is to ensure that the records adhere to standards and they're as complete as possible, right? They have connectivity throughout the infrastructure. So one new development coming in has its potable infrastructure that we, the utilities department, have to maintain, connects to something else, so things flow, right? So that's their job, and then subsequently they have to make sure that it's archived accurately, right? The next phase of our operation is the mapping team, the draftsmen. They take all of those records and enter them into the GIS, right? So we have an SDE set up, right? And we've got, you know, on an average day, about 4 editors drafting records, you know, into the system. And their job is to map them accurately according to the record. And I want to emphasize that they've got to adhere to the record. They can't make stuff up. And we deal with this difficulty over and over again throughout our operations, in that an engineer will seal something. They'll put their sign and seal. The surveyor will sign and seal it. But we know that there's something wrong with it. We know that the connections just don't work the way that they're saying they work, even though that's what the record says. But we can't make anything up. We've got to go by what the record says. So what, our mapping staff has been doing this a long time. They really know what they're doing. So they're able to look at those records. They're able to see some of those edits, those discrepancies, shall we say. And then we'll just throw it out there that there are even occasions where before the record is completely drafted, we've already got a field sketch out to our distribution folks, or the potable or the sanitary folks, right? Just asking them, hey, what's going on with this? We may even send it through out ourselves for a GPS site, just to get the accuracy down. And that'll come back in as a field sketch, and subsequently that piece of paper, right, that record, then corrects that infrastructure. And then the third aspect of it is the locates team, right? And our locate supervisor is very well known for saying, mark it right the first time and every time. That means that they mark it right the first time according to the record, and that every time that they got to go back to it, right? So it's a very accuracy driven organization, and there is a time there. They've got 24 hours that they have to respond to these tickets. So there's a pressing matter for us, right? So accuracy is key, all of this, and we're gonna come back to a lot of these themes here, right? So this is it. I mentioned it. I mentioned it just a little bit there, right? That the records feeds the mapping, who feeds the locates. While they're out in the field and they see a discrepancy, that feeds back into the record stream, right? But we very much see this as the micro schema for how GIS should function, right? And I get it, I got biased, right? But you get kind of these different models for whether or not everything should be centralized or distributed, et cetera. And we're going to flush a little bit of that out, but this is how we operate, and it's worked exceedingly well for us, right? Again, the records form the base. Every line, every dot, every polygon, everything is traceable to a record. That record is then made available primarily for our staff, so that they can see, the utilities department as a whole, so that they can see where all that infrastructure is and how they can connect to it. But it's also available out to the public. And just as a seed for anybody who's kind of looking at this, wondering, scratching their head, I wasn't here when Shannon and Frank developed this, but it took 2 years for them to come up with a working product. But it wasn't until 3 years after that people stopped printing things, right? So it took a long time to come up with a product that everybody trusted, that everybody realized, and now it's something that they just can't. They don't. When GIS goes down, the whole world hears about it. You heard it earlier. It's like GIS doesn't go down. It just doesn't. What we do is so integral to the operations that when it goes down, everybody stops what they're doing and it gets back up and running real quick. But having that public-facing webinar, that public-facing map available to us, available to both our staff and the public at large, it's called, my boss often refers to it as the workforce multiplier, right? For all you military folks. It takes what the field guys do, and it's a multiplier in how they can perform their operations. Now they don't have somebody who out in the field sees an issue, has to come all the way back into the office to grab the book, to walk back out into the office, walk back out in the field to show the guys where everything is. Meanwhile, in that time frame, they probably just dug it up. Having it available on your cell phone or your tablet, on pretty much any device, makes it that workforce multiplier, right? All right, so with any operation comes a SWOT analysis, or however you want to put it, SWOT, whatever. Whatever. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses. These are the internal, right? Opportunities and threats are externals, right? So internal strengths. Mission focus means we're quality first, right? It means that everything we do focuses on the accuracy. Practice makes progress. We're not perfect. But it's built on that quality control, right? And the results speak for themselves. It speaks for itself. I'll go back to it. The state average of damages is 13 per 1,000. We're 1 per 1,000, right? But what are the weaknesses? We have silos of experts. I won't shy about it. We've got these folks that are really hyper-focused in their mission. The records team, the mapping team, the locates team. And that creates gaps in knowledge, right? And staff has often spoken to us about how they feel disconnected, you know, especially the office folks with the field staff. There's definitely a disconnect there, right? And each thing has its mitigating application, you know, awareness and crossover training. These are keys to a lot of that, but you still have to be aware of what your weaknesses and your strengths are, right? Opportunities and threats, right? One of the big things I always tell folks is always pay attention to the Esri's UC conference and the Developer Summit, the plenary sessions, and if you can get to the keynotes, great. But what happens in those plenary sessions is that they reveal the direction for Esri. You get to see where things are going, right? And you know, we often, well, we affectionately refer to it for our management folks who go out to these conferences as the raccoon chasing the shiny ball. And well, I'm sorry, Lee, I'll just throw it out there. We call it the 3 clicks to save the world. Jack will get up there on stage and he'll say, hey, look, here's this new magical whiz-bangy thing. And all you got to do is install it in 3 clicks and boom, the world's saved. Well, it doesn't always work that way. It never works that way, guys, right? We see these different shifts. We see these tools, and our data structures are unique to us. They are something that we build, you know, again, to utilize Shannon, she spent 15 years building our geometric networks, and now we're forced to convert that over. And you're going to hear more about that later. So our data structures are unique. Our infrastructure is unique as far as where securities are allowed, you know, SDE versus hosting data in full. I mean, the list goes on how you guys operate. So it's not this, hey, look, here's this new thing, install it and you can run with it. You know, there's always some configuration that has to be done. But, not to beat up on Esri here, you pay attention to those plenary sessions, you find out what's going on, and then you make sure that you're aware of it, right? You do yourself a favor and you do training. These are opportunities for us, right? You look to those applications, look at what those solutions are, and then implement it. I don't care if you actually use it, just implement something. And now you've sharpened that sword, you kept the iron hot, so to speak, right? I'm just checking my time here. Okay, so you know, threats to the organization, right? These are things that we may or may not be able to control based on where we are in the structure. We have organizational shifts, right? Not all of us are decision makers, right? But you can influence that decision by having an organization such as ours, where the data kind of feeds itself. And again, I'll feed to that here in the next slide. Retirements. I talked about that hyper focus of the mission within the mission. Retirements hurt us pretty good. You know, we've got those walking repositories. So when somebody walks out the door, all that knowledge goes with them. There's funding structures, right? You know, so tax bills versus utility for us, obviously I'll focus on the utility bill. But, you know, what is that funding source and how does that change? And obviously there's a lot of politics involved in that. And then finally, you know, you do have political shifts. And these are things, again, awareness is key. You just got to be kind of mindful about them and how you can mitigate it. And Florida House Bill 53, I'll bring that one up. You know, for a long time, you know, the state of Florida, there's been an argument about, do we include stormwater infrastructure at the same level that we do potable and reclaim and sanitary and power and et cetera, right? So all of those things that are listed, except stormwater, are required to be located via Florida Statutes 556, the call sunshine ticket, right? 811, call before you dig. But should stormwater be included in that? And as of right here now, it's not. I'm not here to preach in either direction on that, but if it does become something that it's required, then we have to shift our organization to adjust for that. And that means staffing and funding and all of those questions have to come into play. Again, awareness is key. Now, Florida House Bill turned out to be much ado about nothing in that regard, but it was still something that was on our radar. All right, putting this thing all together here for you guys. And this is really kind of where the rubber meets the road for me. I want you to take a look at that map. That's from 1591. None of us here in this conference can produce that map the way that it was produced. None of us have that capability. We don't even, the tools necessary to do it probably don't even exist anymore. And I don't want to beat them up, right? I kind of love, you know, it's pretty impressive what they were able to do in 1591. But obviously everybody in that room looks at that and says, that's not Florida. That's not Lake Okeechobee. I don't even know where Tampa Bay is in this map, let alone, you know, some of the other locations. So it's impressive, but it's also incredibly long. So where am I going with this, right? Ciencia, knowledge, geography, earth description, the science of where. When Esri rolled out with that, I was through the roof. I was absolutely just, I was the solid, you know, the slow clap, standing applaud kind of thing from Ryan. That really kind of, it put the philosophy for what we do. It is the science of where. Esri is the science of where. We really get the geography down. All of you in this room wouldn't be here if you weren't good at GIS. You're good at it, hands down. But the question has to come in about how we do what we do. And I can lie with statistics, you've all heard that, but I can also lie with a map. You know, change one blue to red, your background from gray to black, and suddenly you got a different map. You know, slight small tangent here is, you know, I remember back in the day when a map was something that had a legend, it had a key, it had a scale, it had a north arrow, it had a title, it had all these different things that you'd had to, you know, write in that final exam questionnaire in my cartography class, you had to fill out what that was. Nowadays, there's a complete shift in that dynamic. Nowadays, a map isn't necessarily all those things that I just listed. Nowadays, the mentality is that I can't pick it up and understand exactly what I'm looking at. Then I failed as a cartographer. I failed as a geographer, right? So there's a change in that shift. There's a shift where that is concerned over you. You know, think about your Google Maps kind of thing. You can pick that up and see, you know what you're looking at, right? All right, so enough about that. The three questions that I asked them are, what defines your mission? What is your funding source? And then what is your governance, right? He with the greatest need maintains the data. Thank you, Mark. Mark's in the room here. Mark Murphy, our IT and GIS, all things manager. Anyway, but that resonated with me for a long time in that the point here is this: if we have a centralized GIS, if everybody worked for one centralized GIS department, right? When there's a damage to a 36-inch force main, everybody stops what they're doing and shifts to utilities. When there's suddenly a backup in traffic and politicians are changing over to, you know, careers are being found and lost because of lack of traffic, guess what everybody shifts to? Traffic. What happens to facilities management? What happens to the environmental management? What happens to those stormwater, you know, swift mud, FEMA's rating system? I mean, all of those things kind of go out the window. So where I'm getting at with this is, you know, obviously we're a big fan of the distributed network, you know, a centralized hub that deals with the database, they deal with the architecture, they deal with the governance of GIS. But then it's the develop and deploy. It's the, we build it and then we hand it off to our customers and we walk away. You know, and us being a utilities customer of that, it's fed us so well over the years and that we're able to focus on utilities. And part of that does what, part of that is proven that what's my funding source? For us, it's the utility bill. You know, you follow the money, right? It's what's paying your job. And then the last is, what is the governance structure? What's that quotes in the air law, or what's the governance that guides your operation? For us, it's the Florida State Chapters 119, Public Records Sunshine Law, and then Florida Chapter 556, the Underground Facility Damage Prevention, right? So what I'm going though is that all of these things, all these little key points point to how we do what we do. And that, well, they allow us to do what we do, right? What's your check? How can that be improved? I get it that there's a little bit of a difference here. You've got, you know, public versus private. You've got your funding sources being a tax versus a profit margin, and then the focus of being service versus results in ROI. But, you know, there is a similarity there. When I say tax, I mean, anytime that we charge the citizen, it's a tax. I don't care how you want to slice it, right? But again, the money, the governance in the organizational structure all dictate that earlier slide, right? I'll back up here really quick here. That big circle, this is that key. Probably should have moved this toward the end again. This is the key. The records feeds the mapping. The mapping feeds the link heights. The locates face the records. It's one big giant circle, and the governance is the record. The mappers develop records when they find discrepancies. The locators develop records when they find issues out in the field. In the records team, obviously, they're the ones receiving those records from the developers and all those, all those various customers. It's one big giant circle. The governance is there. Florida chapters 119, the Florida Records Law, right? The 556, damage prevention, right? All right, enough of that here. Let me move on here to my next slide here. There is one other objective, and I promise there's a point to this one too here. Stay out of the newspaper. Every operation is definitely does well when they can stay out of the newspaper here. But that picture on the top left, right, that's a damage to a 36-inch water main that was found by an auger. An auger the size of one that could build or that could help build a dock. And the 4 people there on the bottom left are 4 extremely high-paid folks, administrators, deputy administrators, and somebody who flies all over the world dealing with very special cases like that 36-inch water main. It fed critical infrastructure that we could not turn on. My heart breaks for that one, because in a couple of years, drilling that same piling probably wouldn't have been an issue. CIPs, etc. All right, moving on here, the middle picture here. And I promise there is a point to all this, right? That was that picture that I showed you at the very first slide. This is a bit of a closer up look. That was a 24-inch force main, ductile iron. For those who don't know what that means, it's not clean water. Just leave it at that. And it was all over the streets. So of course it ended up in the newspaper, and it ended up in front of the commissioners, and it ended up in front of everybody in the world, everybody in the brother, right? The last picture there is a bit of a fun one there, and a bit of a bragging point for my team. Well, the team, I should say, is that's a damage to a excuse me, an 18-inch, 24-inch water line, 18-inch water line. It doesn't matter. If you look at the very left side of that right picture, you'll see a bit of sidewalk. And there's a very faint blue smudge on that sidewalk. For those of you who don't know locates and don't know underground infrastructure and this sort of thing, what that means is our locators utilize the records that our team developed, that they put paint on the ground of where they thought that was. And when the contractor inevitably hit it, the sidewalk fell on top of the pipe. The mark that he put on the sidewalk fell on the pipe. You don't get any better than that, guys. All right, so where am I going with this then, right? The last bit of take home here is that, like I said before, practice makes progress. We're not perfect. We have flaws, but it demands an after action review. You've got your quality assurance versus your quality checks, right? Think of the difference here between that Six Sigma guy, the process guy, versus the inspected by sticker on your shirt, right? One checks at the beginning and the during of that process of how we can improve what we do, and the other looks at the results and says, are these good? Are they accurate? Is this what we expected as a product? And every time we see one of these flaws, every time we see something like this, we do an after action. What could we have done as a team to improve it? And sometimes the answer is nothing. They just completely didn't care and did what they did. But sometimes we can look at it, and I'll use that center picture again. That's a very congested right of way. You're again only seeing, reclaimed and potable lines, but there's also a power pole there. There's lighting, there's telecom, there's data. We get very constricted right of ways. It gets congested. So maybe part of that after action review is to present to your management, hey, we need a slow goes. We need an area for, obviously I'm speaking of utilities terms here, but we need an area where you've got a hand dig. You can't drill. You just can't. You've got to verify the underground infrastructure so that we stop from having a 24-inch force main dumping force main into the streets, right? All right, last one here is a bit of a brag on Shannon and her team. I said before, 10,000 linear miles of infrastructure. If you stood that end to end and took a picture from the earth, that's what you would see. All right, and with that, I'm looking at my time here. Okay, wow, I pretty much was close to that. All right, questions?
Hey Ryan, this is Parker. Earlier you had mentioned some of the mobile apps that you use, and I was just curious, did you have specific field applications that you used for observations and collection, something, that was custom? And then specifically, how do you handle using those mobile apps in like remote areas, so kind of beyond just the syncing, of the survey or something?
So here is our mobile application. I got to brag on my IT team, Jeff and Mark and company here. They built this and Priscilla and company. This is a public facing web app. It's got all of our infrastructure here for, within reason. I want to, obviously we do have to worry about national security interests. So you're going to not see plant data. You're not going to see the airports, ports, that sort of thing on here. But all of our infrastructure is public facing. Again, back to that public records, we don't have to do this, but by building this, it became that tool for both the public to answer their own question when they want to see, look, that's that record number, and here's the link to that. I'm kind of cringing at the live demonstration here, so I don't know what I'm going to get, but yeah, there we go. I knew it was going to be an older one the second I saw it, but nevertheless, here is the record. It's out there for the whole world to see, not just our crew. So this is the primary app that they use for locating the infrastructure and then for identifying it. Forgive me, what was the second part of your question there?
I was just asking about if offline. I was thinking of a mobile solution. If field workers are out and they're collecting, was it survey 123 or field maps based? And just kind of how you handle that, but I see that's the web app viewer now. So
yeah, so for now, it's just the web app viewer. We've talked a lot about how to maybe do field app changes. Right now, we utilize our work order management system. When they create they'll create a ticket for us to manage that, and then of course there's but the key to even that though is all of these applications. They're fancy, they're whiz-bangy, they're wonderful, and certainly they can answer a lot of those questions. But there has to be a record for us. And sometimes that record can be, that survey 123 or that field app where they're drawing on they're drawing something from the field that says, this is what I saw and this is where it is. But I can guarantee you now, and stop yelling, I can hear Shannon screaming at me, we're going to GPS it. I thank you, Shannon. I know, yes, okay. We are going to go back out in the field and we're going to GPS that infrastructure, and I get it, it's a bit antiquated, but having some kind of a screenshotted PDF document that links back to that infrastructure keeps our continuity of operations going. So yeah, there's plenty of different solutions out there, and we're always open to innovation in that regard. So anyway,
and that's great. Appreciate you demonstrating that, and Godspeed recreating a new one when web app viewer goes away.
Yeah, trust me, that's been part of the conversations for sure.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Hi, Ryan. So, the theme of my questions is centered around solid waste specifically. Are there any departments that you're looking to push into to bring this technology and this information to those assets, aside from solid waste, for instance? And subject matter experts. Obviously, you guys have to confer with the department heads and subject matter experts when building this stuff out. So how much of it is maybe knowledge your GIS people already had about the subject matter, and how much is it going to subject matter experts to build this out?
Yeah, excellent point, Brooke. Yeah, that's definitely a thing we deal with constantly. I'm not going to shy about it. Listen, we've been doing GIS a long time, and I speak that to the community here. We can all teach anybody how to make a map. We can teach anybody how to draft. Give me a couple of months and I can teach you how to edit an SDE, right? All of those things are tools that we can teach you, but teaching you that a backflow in a meter, and then where the hydrant has to be, and the T and the connections and the Ys and the sanitary and all of those different kind of utility specific things takes time for us to teach our staff. So for us, one of the very difficult things that we have is hiring folks that know both GIS and utilities. So in that regard, I point back to, our staff's wickedly smart. They know when something doesn't add up. And I'll use Ashley as an example. You're over there, Ashley. There was a forceman across the street that just when she got the record, she brought it to Shannon and I and said, this is not right. And meanwhile, it's got a signed, sealed, surveyor mark and an engineer's seal, and it's raised seal. And who are you questioning the engineer here, Ryan? And fist shaking. And I'm like, okay, right, but it's not right. I'm sorry, it's wrong. So what do we do then? It's exactly that. We reach out to the collections folks. The collections are sewer. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my terms generic here. So we reach out to our sewer staff and we ask them, hey guys, you might want to look at this. What's the reality here? And they come back and say, no, Ashley was right. That's not how this is connecting. Yes, you absolutely do need a water connection on the lift station. You do need to have that service there. And then as far as your first question though, Brooke, is back to it, sorry. Yes, we let the subject matter experts dictate to us how the infrastructure goes. Key to that record, that's the theme, that's my drumbeat. It's got to be on the record somewhere, right? So they give us that record and it feeds on that instead. But to your first point though is, yeah, we're always open to helping folks. And frankly, that's why I'm here, is to just share this philosophy with this community. And who can take it, use it. It's cool. Plagiarize the snot out of me here, and I'm always welcome to help you guys out.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Are there any other questions for Ryan?
All right, Leah, I still love you.
All right. We'll go ahead and switch over to our next presenter. Our next presenter is Dr. Youssef Kaddoura. He is the academic program specialist in the Fort Lauderdale Research and Education Center at the University of Florida. He graduated from U of F with a doctoral degree in geomatic science. His research investigates establishing a reproducible methodology to georeference oblique tower-mounted or phenocam images through applying a multidisciplinary approach that encompasses the fields of photogrammetry, ecology, LiDAR, conventional surveying techniques, and theories. As a member of ASPRS, he served as a board member for the period from March 2020 to March 2021. He holds a MS in computer engineering from the University of Florida, which included deploying innovative use of technology towards enabling aging sensors to live independently for a longer period of time. This work resulted in a U.S. patent titled Remote Surveillance and Assisted Care using a mobile communication device, which served as a catalyst to further pursue remote sensing and photogrammetry. Previously, Youssef worked at Geospatial Consultancy Company, an Esri partner in Abu Dhabi in United Arab Emirates. All right, Youssef, I will pass it over to you. I see you already have your screen shared, so go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of this successful event. And I want to specifically thank Betty Morris for reaching out and inviting me to be part of this. So today we will be talking about GeoCareer. What are the things that are changing in order to keep us very competitive in the geospatial field and industry? So I will give an introduction, talk about a little bit about AI, and then the educational qualification, professional certification, and what's the importance of joining a professional organization, which is exactly like GeoFlo, any part of events that will help us do some career development. And then I will talk about the importance of social media. And we'll end with the key values and the conclusion. So we are lucky to be today part of the geospatial field because of what's happening in the autonomous vehicle industry. So artificial intelligence now is a key thing where machine learning, data science is happening. We are the geospatial people doing remote sensing, creating like mapping things, and then the autonomous vehicle. So the difference between the autonomous vehicle and the geospatial field is that we go collect data in LiDAR or anything. We go to the office and then we do the processing. The autonomous vehicle, because of the AI and what's happening, it's in real time. The mapping has to happen in real time. Why it's important, what happened in the autonomous vehicle industry, it allowed us to have access to all the sensors. And I will talk about that, the LiDAR sensors, the camera sensors. So this industry attracted a lot of investors, which allowed us to have access to more mapping devices that are affordable and small and can be mounted on a drone. And this here, you can see like how the industry is growing. The GNSS, the IMU, the camera, the radar, there's a lot of people who are interested in being part of this because everybody knows that every car has to have some mapping sensors, LiDAR or imagery or high precision GNSS. So plus decreasing the size, because in the old days, it was very large, like if you're talking about a LiDAR sensor, very large, like 13 something kilogram. And then it kept decreasing because they want to fit it on the autonomous vehicle. And this is where we are benefiting as the geospatial field, because this is helping us to go and put this on a drone, and everybody has access to the latest technology. It's affordable and can be mounted on a drone. So as geospatial, we are mapping everything. Our job is to map everything above ground, like on the globe, above ground, underground, below the ocean, indoor. So there is so much opportunity. And now the opportunity is growing more because the streets that the autonomous vehicle is driving on, it has to be mapped with highest precision. So the autonomous vehicle is also creating a big market opportunity for the geospatial people, because all the streets now has to be at the highest precision. So it started as the geospatial science and field was small, but this is helping us is growing bigger and bigger and bigger in the market. So the geospatial field has so many specialties. I would say LiDAR, remote sensing, photogrammetry, hydrography, and all of this is at high demand now. And because of many things, I would talk about like the AI, how it helped these things to be in much, the market is in need of these things. First, since I come from University of Florida now, I'm working with the University of Florida. We have something happened in the past year, 2 years. The founder of NVIDIA, when you say supercomputer, it means like NVIDIA card. There's a hardware that is needed. So the founder of NVIDIA, his name is Chris Machowski. He donated $70 million to UF, and he provided the fastest AI supercomputer in highest education. This was maybe 2-3 years ago. Now it's the third, but the money that he gave to UF, the supercomputer is called Hypergator AI. The money that he gave, he said, I want it to go across the curriculum. So I want every single graduate to AI across the curriculum. He said, I want every single graduate to know something about AI because AI is the future. It's exactly in 1996 when Microsoft Office came out. So the school decided to teach Microsoft Office to all majors. And people said, no, I am in a psychology major. I don't need to learn Excel and math, you know. No, you need it, but you don't know. In the future, you will use it. That's how they started. So now it's the age of AI. They are telling everybody that you need it, but you don't know that it's going to be in the future. So this guy, Chris Machowski, came to UF. He said, let's start changing our curriculum to make it AI based. We don't know what the market needs, and we don't know exactly what to teach, but we need to be the first people to do it. And this is going to give UF a big, significant, to be more competitive. So if we talk about AI, so since we're talking about AI and GeoCareer, I would say if you ever had the opportunity to learn a little bit about AI, it will have so much value, and especially differentiating between data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. And I will put this slide for you to read, which allow you to have a good understanding for the difference. And if you're really interested in this, just take a screenshot, because if you read it, it will allow you to understand what is machine learning, what is artificial intelligence, and data science. Machine learning is when you feed the stop sign images into the system and it starts predicting. So it knows when the car is next to a stop sign. When I say stop sign, I'm saying about broken stop sign, damaged stop signs. So it will predict all the stop signs. And then the artificial intelligence system, it will give a command to the car to stop. So the machine learning is predicting the stop sign. The artificial intelligence is ordering the car to come to a complete stop. Data science is to examine how the artificial intelligence is working. So you go get some insight. Is the car stopping in the right place or not? So those are the three words I want to share with you about AI. And here we're talking about big data. And as you know, we have supervised and unsupervised learning. The most important thing what's happening now is the talk about metaverse. So there is a lot of work. Remember we said about scanning all the roads. Another major opportunity is the metaverse, where we have to create a duplicate of the current world that we live in on the virtual platform. And this is creating a massive opportunity, you know, for geospatial people. So I would say in the future, I mean, very soon, people will have a 3D of their avatar and they upload it on the metaverse. People will buy, like, let's say, property in Beverly Hills and be like more having their virtual life happening there. So more and more work that has to be done by us as geospatial people. And when we talk about the autonomous vehicle, here I want to say that the autonomous vehicle, the input is an image and the output is the steering angle and the throttle. So there is a lot of mapping that is happening at the car level. And yeah. So since our job is, our talk today is about GeoCareer, I want to say that familiarizing yourself with AI is going to give you more significant value in your company. I know a lot of people are doing AI, but I'm talking about the knowledge. Gaining more knowledge about it is very important. So regarding the education qualification, I would say for everybody in any field, is the most important thing is to stay hungry. When I talked about these sensors, the LiDAR sensors, so people who graduated before 2010, they didn't have access to these sensors, whether it's LiDAR, whether it's the drone, whether it's, so it doesn't matter when you graduate, as long as you stay hungry and you go very aggressive in learning, that's very important. Plus, some people, they get into this spatial field based on their high school. It's never too late to go back to school and get your professional degree and, you know, and be more specialized and and grow your career. The most important thing is the energy that you bring. Like I finished my master's degree in 2006. I came for my PhD, just to give you an example. I came for my PhD in 2018 and I finished it in 2022. So, and of course, that took me to a different level because the timing to go back to school, now you're learning about all these new technology. So the educational qualification is very important. And here, allow me to introduce what we offer at University of Florida. So now with our program, you don't need to go to Gainesville to be part of UF Geomatics program. We have campuses in Plant City and we have campuses in Fort Lauderdale, where all the lab components or the in-person components you can attend in that campus. So you can be a full-time. What do we offer? We have the degrees, undergraduate degree, which is a bachelor with focus in surveying or a bachelor with focus into geospatial. Now, this is for people who are seeking a bachelor degree, but for people who are seeking like a certificate, let's say they have a bachelor, we have really a very good certificate. It's called Mapping with Small Unmanned Aerial Certificate. It's a 3-course certificate. It will teach you everything about drones, different payloads, LiDAR, imagery. So it's basically 3 courses that includes the field component, and we have it in Plant City, we have it in Fort Lauderdale and in Gainesville. And the beauty about this certificate, if you have the entrepreneur spirit and you want to have your own business, this can be a good way to do it, because if you have a small capital, you can buy a drone and then you can be hired for so many companies. The beauty about this specific certificate is we have our undergraduate students who are graduating, they're still undergrad. They go to the interview, they know about drones more than the person who's interviewing them. And sometimes the company is hiring the new graduate and telling them, we want you to take the lead and establish our drone department. And this is really great. And it happens only now because it's still, this market is still growing. Professional certification, of course, you can look, if you are working in photogrammetry, I would say ASPRS, which is the American Society of Photogrammetry and Remote Sensing, and I'm involved with this organization. They set the standards and they also offer certification. You can be a LiDAR certified person or remote sensing or US. So some contracts, government entities or people who want work to be done, they say, I want qualified people to be working on my LiDAR project. And then the qualification is coming from something like ASPRS. And of course, there is a way to look at to prepare for this. And there is a conference called Geo Week now happening in Denver in February 11. And there is a workshop to teach you how to prepare for these certificates. I teach this workshop. If you have any question, let me know. So I will have my email at the end, the last slide. I will be happy to answer any question. Of course, GISP is very famous also. If you go into the surveying, FSMS, because I would say when you reach like the certification level, then you're demonstrating a certain level of capability and certain level, certain value. Your company, everywhere you go, you will be appreciated more. And this can, at the compensation wise, responsibilities wise, you will be able to see it. So wherever you are, try always to challenge yourself and take things to the second level. Join a professional organization. And this is really important. And I'm really happy to be part of GeoFlo. Professional networking, you meet a lot of professional, successful people that inspire you. You might find mentors there. And I would say something at the larger level, which is like ASPRS. If you are a student, they offer a lot of scholarships. When I say scholarships, they have $2,000, $5,000, almost like 30 something, $5,000 to give away to students to empower them, because we are always attracting people to be to come to the geospatial field. And of course, continuing education, they have all these workshops and allow you to grow and become better. And you can maybe know what's happening. If there's any changes in the standards in the field, you will be able to know. Social media presence, I would say this is very important. A lot of people don't think about it, but if you ever in a position where you're changing jobs, you will see the value of this, because people, they don't want to look only at the CV. They want to see your geospatial journey. And this can be told in your social media. The conferences, the achievements, the engaging with others, your network, who's interacting with you. There is a lot to tell about the person in the social media. So I recommend everybody should take care of their social media presence. Give it some time. I'm not saying it's very pleasant when you start writing about things that you already done, because you come from the conference so tired. If you write one post, the fruits is gonna come in the future when you're looking for new challenges and changing some career thing. I would say the most important thing that every employer is looking for is the integrity and energy. Energy means they are willing to learn, they are willing to put the time. If you give them a new task, if there is any changes in technology, because everything is changing now. So at least they have the energy and they will be very pleasant to work with. In conclusion, I will end with this story. One time there was a guy looking for a job. He's physically fit and he's looking for a job. And then he found somebody, he said, I will hire you to cut trees for me. And I will give you, like, his market value is X. He said, I will give you 2X. So the guy was so excited. He go to the field and he start cutting trees. The first day he cut 18 trees. He come back to his boss and he say, I cut 18 trees. The boss was so happy, he gave him some bonus. He went home and he's so excited for the next day. He go next day, he cut only 15. Third day, he cut 10 and he felt something is wrong with him. He go back to his boss and he say, I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I'm getting sick or something. I'm cutting only 10 trees. And the boss asked him the famous question, when was the last time you sharpened your axe? And the guy responded, I'm too busy cutting trees. I don't have time for sharpening my axe. And this is what happened to us when we go to our jobs. We get overwhelmed with the tasks that we are doing. We never give time to go to conferences, to attend workshops, to learn something new, and because we are too busy. But remember, when you go to conferences, when you attend events like GeoFlo, you come back to your job and you work smartly and you will cut more trees and you will become more productive. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Youssef. Do we have any questions? You can go ahead and unmute yourself if you do have any. I'm just looking through. I don't see any raised hands at this point. All right. All right. Thank you very much. That was a very good analogy at the end. I really liked that.
Thank you.
All right. So next up is our user group roundup. As most of you know, GeoFlo Summit is hosted by the 4 regional user groups: Gulf Coast GIS,